brewing more beer. Finally, the weather's cooled off enough where I'm not getting crushed every brew day. It's a brisk 85 out today. I'm in the shade. Feels wonderful, really. Set out to do something a while back and I haven't completed it yet. And that's to brew every single style of IPA. I have not done a white IPA. I have not done a double IPA, oddly enough. I have not done a Belgian IPA. I believe those are the only 3 ones left in the BJCP guide I have not brewed. This is not the BJCP guide, but this is a brewed IPA. For those who aren't aware of this new trend that's catching on sort of like the hazy IPA, that's an IPA that's basically dried way out. Your gravity is pretty much at 0 when the yeast is done eating. And how you do this is you add enzymes to it. So you mash low initially at like 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And the idea behind it is like a champagne IPA, so like a really dry IPA. I've had a few of them, and to be honest, they're okay. I did have one from Beechwood that was actually pretty good because they make amazing award-winning beer. I've had also one from Mumford. I think I had a third one somewhere else. But they've all been pretty good, but they don't wow me. So I'm going to make a standard IPA recipe that I normally do. I'm actually going to up the bitterness a little bit, though. I found that if I go now closer to 80 IBUs, 90 IBUs, it feels like it tastes like 70 to me. But I'm also a hophead. I'm going to do my normal hop stand. I'm going to do a late boil editions, 15-minute boil edition, brew 1, Who Melon, and Amarillo, dry hop with brew 1 and Galaxy. How you get this low is you get it down to, mash low first, so between 145 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you add an enzyme to it, which breaks up the sugars, sort of acts like a beta amylase essentially, and cleaves off the small sugars. So you're left with little glucoses, basically, little tiny ones. So then you can consume that more than they can in long sugar chains. There are 2 different enzymes I've seen reading about this that you can add that essentially act as the same thing. And I forgot the names of them off the top of my head, so I need to get the laptop. So these are, from what I did research, this is from the Beer and Wine Journal, beerandwinejournal.com. And this is Chris Colby's blog. And he added amyloglucosidase. I might have said that wrong. It's a amylase enzyme. It just basically cleaves off the sugar chains or chops off one glucose molecule. Alpha amylase, like the actual powder itself for you can use. Another one, the one when I said 2, I was referring to the 2 main ones, Beano. Let me get the jar. This is where was it? Alpha galactosidase. And I think they're the same thing. I try to dig in and find difference on this. I got into such heavy science stuff. I am not a biochemist. I don't honestly know the exact difference on these 2. I know Beano's used a lot when you're doing this stuff. Anyone who wants to get nerdy out there with their biochemistry and break down if they know the exact difference on these 2, please let me know. Leave a comment below. But either way, I'm going to use it, and there's 2 ways of adding this I've heard. I've actually 3 ways. I've used this once in a secondary, twice actually. I've used it twice in a secondary. One time it didn't work very well, and the other time it worked pretty well. So one way, reading online, one from Chris Colby, he said he added his in the worts before you boil. You got to cool it down though first, like under 140 degrees Fahrenheit, because it'll actually denature above that. I've read that Beano can actually denature closer to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do is get it closer to 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and you let it sit for 15 minutes. That should give enough time to do its work. Then you boil as usual, then you ferment. Why you do it that way is because sometimes Beano can keep chewing and never stop, and you can get down, you can add 0 or below 0. So I've heard. Philosophy did a sort of recent experiment on this, and they put it in a primary. He did 10 tablets of Beano in a primary, and it did drop down. I think their experiment was 1.007 for one and 1.003 final for the other one. We shall see, shall we? Let's do it. Let's get the brew day started. Let's run through this. Let's run through this. Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you are meant for me. I'm madly in love with you. Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you are. I'm madly in love with you. So I've heard and seen by practical experience that you need to add a little more lactic acid when you're doing a thinner mash, which I'm doing for this one. That's because you just have more water, so you need a little more lactic acid. I aim for about 5.1 on the Beersmith program, and I got 5.3. So food for thought, in case, just in case. Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you were meant for me. I'm madly in love with you. Baby, you're the one for me. Baby, you were... All right, transferred 2 gallons from my other beer I'm doing. Got my 1 gallon left. Let's get the fire started. Let's take a gravity reading, shall we? 10:57. I did my cold sparge, which is about 80% of my normal sparge water, or mash water, I should say. Then the rest of it, 20% of it was the cold fly sparge. That's about a 70% efficiency, just under like 68, 69%, somewhere in that range. So it does work. You just have to make sure you do a pretty thin mash to do it. If you do just a cold sparge, I then generally get closer to 63% efficiency if I split it in half, let's say. Maybe half mash water, half cold sparge water. So yeah, something to think about if you guys want to try it out. It works pretty well. Just double checking the wort there. I got it down to 132 degrees Fahrenheit, just sitting around. I got a paper towel. I'm gonna crush up the Beano inside it. Yeah, it worked pretty well. So that was 2 tablets. All right, let this go for about 30 minutes actually. I just didn't believe that 15 minutes was enough time. So 30 minutes, we'll see what happens. Those Brew 1 hops are a little questionable smelling. It kind of smelled like nothing. Not bad or oniony or garlicky or anything or cheesy, just not fresh. I opened up this Galaxy pack that I was going to use for my dry hops, and it smells absolutely incredible. It's the massive fruit bomb, just punches you in the face. So I'm using these the rest of the way. Nicole Melon was the same actually, it smelled a little weird. So it's going to be Galaxy all the way through for the rest of it. I think I have enough. Alright, I got 001 for this time. The 05 still a little bit iffy for me with the acetal, although it's been better recently. I figured I'd start with a fresh batch of 001. Alright, measuring out 20 milliliters. That's what I do for my measurements these days. By the way, did I take a gravity reading? It was at 1067. Let's check in on this beer in about 7-8 days and see where the gravity's at. Here we are 12 days later. I assume fermentation is done. I hope it's done because I kegged it already. I just finished doing that now. I have everything hooked up to take a gravity reading. Why I didn't take a gravity reading beforehand is because I fear oxygen opening up the fermenter, taking a gravity reading and closing it back up and letting it sit longer. So I took the hope and chance that it actually fermented down below 10,005 because that was my goal, at least mentally. So I have my gas hooked up right to my keg. Got the outline, got some gas on it. I'm just going to pour right into this. Figured it's the easiest way to do it, eliminate the oxygen. As everyone is well aware, I do not take gravity readings hardly ever, but this is a great way to do it on paper. Paper's thin though. Alright, looks like I'm at 1.004, maybe 5, maybe closer to 4. It's right in that in-between. I'll screenshot it right now so you guys can take a look at that. You be the judge. Regardless, that is spectacular that it went below 1010 and by quite a bit even in my book. So hey, the Beano did something. Whether it worked better in the fermentation vessel post-boil, I'm not sure. That would be an experiment to see what would work better. Also using a different but similar enzyme. I don't know if another 3 or 4 days it could have gone even to 1.003 or in that range. But because the Beano was denatured, I don't know if that would have gone that much lower than that. I think it's a great experiment. I got pretty good results out of it. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for that tasting video. Get out there and keep doing weird things, guys. Just keep doing weird things.